Patrick, I did the narration of a documentary we did here at MSNBC on this subject. But, 1 hour of television compared to what you've delivered in this book, there's just no comparison. And so for me, it was filling in so many of thousands of details that I didn't know. And what I knew was horrific before I opened the pages of this book. For you, what was it for you that you just, the moments where you just kind of had to stop what you were doing and just say, I can't believe they did this?
Well, there were a lot of them along the way. I mean, I had originally written a piece in the New Yorker in 2017 about Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family. And at that point, I didn't have access to the kinds of documents that I would eventually get and the kinds of sources that I would eventually develop. So a lot of it was me imagining the conversations they were having behind closed doors. What I found in the book was this paper trail really establishing kind of what they knew and when they knew it, which I found really shocking. I mean, to take just one example, when Purdue Pharma is getting ready to launch OxyContin, they realize that that doctors believe that oxycodone, which is the opioid that's the main ingredient, was weaker than morphine. Now, it turns out that's not true. It was actually stronger than morphine, about twice as strong. But there are these emails in which senior people in the company say, doctors have this wrong. They think it's weaker, and we want to sell this to a wider range of people. So let's not do anything to correct the doctors and make them realize that they have this wrong.
Yeah, and there's also a change in medical culture that Sackler was promoting, which was that you don't have to live with pain, that there's no reason for any patient to endure pain at any moment. And the older school thought was, well, there's a certain amount of pain you might have to deal with because our alternatives to that are addictive.
Yeah, so you get a sea change really in the culture of prescribing. And part of what I was trying to do with this book is the opioid crisis is obviously an incredibly complex public health crisis, and there's many, many variables and factors to consider. But it's also true that this drug, OxyContin, was kind of the tip of the spear. And you see these very deliberate conversations, including members of the Sackler family and the company, Purdue, where they set about trying to kind of change the mind of the American medical establishment about how dangerous these drugs should be. And part of what they want to do is see them prescribed not just for cancer pain, end of life pain, but really all sorts of pain, even moderate, back pain, injuries you've got on the job, sports injuries. And so you can see the commercial reason why they might want to do that. But the way in which they pulled it off was this marketing campaign in which they said, turns out these drugs aren't addictive at all. I've interviewed many former sales reps from the company, and they told me again and again and again, they would meet with thousands of doctors across the country and say, it's addictive less than 1% of the time. That's what they would repeat, less than 1% of the time. We know now that was not true.
How much money did the Sackler family make on this drug trade, and how much have they sacrificed as a result of the law, at least civil law, not criminal law, catching up with them?
So it's interesting, I think you look at this story, there's a tendency to think of it as a family saga or a story about big pharma. It's also a crime story. This is a company, Purdue Pharma, which pled guilty in 2007 to federal crimes of misbranding OxyContin, and then pled guilty again just a few months ago in late 2020 to a new set of crimes associated with the aggressive marketing of this drug. In between, we now know the Sackler family pulled at least $10 billion out of the company. So that's $10 billion of profit that they pulled out during that period of time when we now know the company was engaged in criminal misconduct.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.